So here we have about Wardley Maps. Who here knows about Wardley Maps? It's really fascinating. So I cannot wait for this talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Hello, people. Do you hear me well? Or should I be? Yeah. Okay, cool. So, yeah. Actually, I would like to ask a reverse question. Who hasn't heard anything about Wardley Maps before? Good. So yeah, it's actually it's a very fascinating topic, which I was looking at for, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so, trying to put my foot on that and try to dive into the topic, because it's actually, on one side it's very, very fascinating, on the other side it's actually very complex. And the other thing that I kind of do is helping companies with automation, with platform engineering. And my name is Andrey, right? I'm actually position myself quite often as a developer, because I started coding at the age of 12 and pretty much didn't stop since then. Probably will not stop till I die. Some people also know me as a DevOps guy, because I help them with automation and platform engineering and stuff like that. Also, I work as a CTO, as a fractional CTO in one of the companies. I'm not from here. You can probably guess it from the accent. Yes, I'm doing many other things, but let's get to the topic. Platform engineering. Is anyone here has a title platform engineer? Few people. More people. So, is there anybody who doesn't know what platform engineering is? Or okay. Yeah, basically, platform engineering, I mean, I would say it's a continuation of DevOps in some sense, maybe like a pinnacle of DevOps. Or actually, I would say that we may even call it industrialization of DevOps. So something that is becoming less ad hoc, less custom, but more like industrialized and standardized and stuff like that. Also, we can look at the platform as an internal product that we create. We as platform engineers, we as DevOps people, we as sysadmins, we create for our organization to work on. To basically, it's like rails, and our organization is a train, and we're building those rails to deliver the train to any destination that we need to. And quite often, this term, workflows, tool chains, and self-service will pop up when we talk about platforms, because that's basically the thing. Platform should be there to kind of smoothen the delivery, and sort of become invisible, because basically, developers and business people will focus on the business value, and the rest will be just there for them. Like, most likely we don't notice that much the rails on the stations, because they're just there, they just work. The same thing is kind of true about platform. Right, so, and also the other thing that I kind of notice when I work with different companies, different clients, is that, of course, different companies need different platforms. They need different tool sets, they have different workflows, they have different things they deliver to their customers. So of course that requires some customization, or some, at least I'll call it collecting like Lego sets from different parts to give you what you need for your specific company. As a CTO and as a consultant who's helping companies, I quite often fall into this decision-making trap, I would say. Should I buy or should I build? And being myself a developer, I really like building stuff. And quite often, I mean, I know that if I had the time, I would build it like in 2 weeks. It never happens, of course, but usually it's like 2 months. But anyway, and I mean, as a CTO, I'm actually started thinking about it a little bit differently, because I have to not just build something because I like it, because I know how to do it, but I actually have to bring value to the company. So sometimes it's actually easier to buy, or to rent a service, or do something with that. One thing that I'm using myself sometimes to kind of help me out to make these decisions, build versus buy, is this matrix. It's called purpose alignment matrix. Very simple one, as usual, 4 quadrants. So basically two axes, right? Mission critical and market differentiator. And I guess you can kind of understand more or less what's happening here. If it's not mission critical and it's not differentiating us on the market, who cares? It doesn't matter whether we're buying or building stuff. And quite often, most likely, we actually need to just buy some cheapest possible solution. On the other hand, if it's mission critical to us and it's differentiating us on the market, then we need to invest into that. Maybe building is actually the right decision, maybe not. But quite often, actually, the build phase will be somewhere here, right? Of course, let's say, if I give you an example here, an accounting software. Accounting software is mission critical, right? If it's not working, then your employees don't get salaries and stuff like that. Your customer don't get invoices, and it's mission critical. You have to do it. On the other hand, how much different accounting do you need compared to other companies? Doesn't matter, right? So basically, what you need to achieve in this case is parity, right? On the other hand, if you need a payment solution, if you need to collect payments for your customers, then is it mission critical? Well, it is. Will it differentiate you on the market? Well, no. Right. So again, we need to achieve parity here. We need to, most likely go and rent Stripe, something like that. With a partnering one, so if it's not mission critical, but we still want that to be the best thing for our customers, then we can probably find the best partner. Right. That's the idea. Of course, this matrix, it helps decision-making process, but of course it's not a strategy, right? Because strategy-wise, context around us, environment around us may change, and this matrix will only help partially when we have, in the moment, need to make a decision. But if we need to think forward and make decisions that are strategically affecting our direction as a company, this of course is not enough. That's too simplified. And actually, any other matrix that like 4 quadrants or more probably is not good enough to project the potential decision-making process for the future. Right, but still a good tool for me. Again, as a platform engineer, as a CTO, I sometimes, of course, need to buy stuff, and of course, I would like to speed up the development of my company and bring up the best tools. And in the buy area, there's a lot of things, right? Especially if you ever explore the topic of what kind of platforms exist on the market at the moment. Most of them are Kubernetes based, right? And there are many. Actually, the slide doesn't list all of them, but many more of these platforms exist. So of course, you as a buyer, you have to do research. Which one is better? Which one is actually fulfilling what you need for your company and stuff like that. So that's still a hard choice. And sometimes it feels like, okay, maybe I should build something myself anyway. Right. The other thing that I noticed, I guess everybody knows IKEA, right? Have you heard about IKEA effect? Yeah. Too much. So again, if I decide to build something, then I may fall in love too much with what I'm building, forgetting about what's happening outside, forgetting about potential drawbacks of what I'm building, and basically, just selling everybody my stuff because I did that. And that's basically called a key effect, right? And actually, it's a psychological effect that you ought to love the product which you participated in creating more than just the product that come prepackaged or pre-assembled, right? So that's why, we have so many Kubernetes clusters out there, I guess, because people like configuring them and eventually have to live with them, fall in love with them in some way. Right. So that's 2 things, right? Buying and building could be hard anyway. The other thing is that let's say if we decide to build our own platform using some tool or using partial coding, stuff like that, of course we have to treat it as a product. As an internal product that evolves. It never stops because, I've seen smaller companies which do not have enough budget. Usually they want to invest once and it works, right? But for bigger companies, the bigger the company is, the more it's likely that the thing that they bought this month will definitely change in 3 months, and will definitely have to change again in 3 months again. So that's an evolution. So if we have to, construct, assemble, or build the platform internally, of course we have to assume that it's going to evolve, and we have to have a platform team that will help us doing that. Right. Speaking of platforms in general, right? We of course lots of things can go into that. I guess it's not worth explaining this slide. One thing maybe that is worth explaining here is that, or mentioning at least, that there are components of the platform. Some of them are very tech people friendly, like Git ecosystem, for example. If you know Git and you like defining everything as code, then of course you would prefer that everything is living there. Like it's a technical interface, and technical people know how to work with that. On the other hand, if you have more like business-oriented people, less technical people, then of course they would prefer to have something that is in the front end, or at least in some way accessible by using a normal interface, not like a ugly one from Git, for example, from their perspective. Okay, so that's another thing. Another thing that I kind of think I mentioned that already, that platforms may be different, right? And regardless of what your goal is, your path to this selection of tools could be different, right? And you may end up having a tool set that is actually serving your problem, and that's good. Right, because again, as a technical person, myself, as a developer, I also sometimes have my preferences, which editor to use or which cloud to use and stuff like that. But as a CTO, I learned that it often doesn't matter, because we have to focus on the problem at hand and solve that. And whatever makes it work, given the skills of the people in the company, given the price of that, given how fast we need to get there, given also the availability of resources on the market, we have to make our decisions, right? So it's not always like black and white, and we have different options there. Right. So I described you the platform, right? The platform elements, sort of, and what kind of problems we may have with making decisions, building or buying that. So now let's try to talk about strategy. And I'm really grateful to this guy, Simon Wardley. He's from the UK. He actually was a CEO of several companies, I believe. And he actually thought about strategy a lot. And he created this method called Wardley mapping. And the most fascinating thing about that is he actually wrote a book about that, which is completely free. You don't need to pay anything to Simon. You don't need to pay anything to anyone. You can just get the book right away, read it, and apply the same techniques. So, and I think that's partial reason why it became kind of successful. At least I know about that a lot, but I've heard about that a lot as well. So I hope now you are curious enough to look into that as well. Right. So let's talk about strategy, right? So imagine chess, right? Everybody knows chess, I guess. No need to explain that. Imagine that we have this kind of strategy. First you move the white pawn, then you move the black pawn, then you move the white pawn, then you move the black queen. Is it a strategy?
Depends.
Exactly, depends on what?
It's a recipe for the other factors.
Yeah, it depends on the board, right? It depends on the context in which this moves are applied.
Depends on the context.
Yeah. Very much in context, yeah, exactly. So I mean, and this kind of set of moves can lead to a winning, a victory, or to a loss, right? And unfortunately, maybe you've seen that as well. Like when somebody is presenting you our company's strategy, they give you a list of bullets. That's not a strategy, because it doesn't have context. It doesn't show where we're going, why we're going there, what are the potential other players on the market, and what are potential obstacles we may have. So, of course, this is not a strategy. Bullet list is not a strategy, because it doesn't say anything. Right. So, something like strategy would probably. Maybe this board looks like more like a strategy, right? Because we have the actual context, we have the board, we have potential threats that are coming from the opponent, and we have potential ideas of what we would do if the opponent is going to apply certain moves, right? So this is more like a strategy than the previous one. And the main difference here is that we see the context. We see the context, we see the opponent, we see the players, we see the pieces on the board, and we have ideas what to do if something happens, right? So, and that's what Simon also noticed, right? He noticed that many of the strategical material that exists on the internet and usually used by the business, it's not really giving a lot of details, right? And he said that, okay, let's use this map concept that basically should have these 6 elements. A map obviously is visual, right? It's obvious. It should be context specific. So the context of the situation should be visible from that. The position of components on the map should actually have meaning, because quite often, you see some diagrams where moving one diagram element to another corner will not change the meaning of the diagram. In the map, it actually is important. Like take a normal map, like map of London. If you move one station a few kilometers to the north, it will be a different map, right? The same thing is true here, right? Any map is positional. We have to pay attention to the position of elements. Also, we may introduce some anchor and movement in the map to show where the different elements, the different actors of our game, of our ecosystem actually going. Okay, so visual, context, position, anchor, movement, and components should be all on the map. Otherwise, it's not a map. Okay, so I didn't want to impress you with London Tube map, but I guess that's a map of my city, the tram of my city, and I guess you kind of already understand that if I move at least one piece of one station somewhere else, it's a different map, right? And it's not bound to the reality anymore. Okay, so Simon introduced this sort of idea that we can actually map strategical elements of anything, of our organization on a canvas. And an empty canvas looks like that. We have two axes, right? The x-axis is, the y-axis is the visibility of the component to the target user, to the target customer. So the higher it is in the map, the more visible it's to the final destination, final customer, end user. And on the x-axis, we have different stages of evolution for the component that we're putting there. So, for example, something that is just starting, or maybe not even existing, is in Genesis phase, right? Something that is custom built is here. Something that could be bought as a product or rented as a product is here. And something that is a complete utility is on the last stage. So, for example, think about electricity. It's here. We don't even think about that. Of course, if somebody would switch it off, that would be another story. But you can buy electricity from many different providers. It's already part of the building. It's connected to the building. So you don't even think where you get it from. And you can change the providers easily. So it's completely replaceable resource. And we have many options to buy it from. For example, if we consider the Wi-Fi stuff, this is the product, right? So it's something we of course it's easy to buy, but it's something we can customize again from different customers and buy it for our needs, right? So it's a product. If we build a device ourselves to make something in this room happen, oh, what's going on? No, electricity, as you say. I hope it will not die. Let me check all the wires. So now you feel how electricity is important. So if you have to build the device yourself, then obviously it's a custom build. But if we're talking about, I don't know, something like new AGI, that's Genesis, right? It's only starting. It's not yet built. Okay. Yeah, I just need to switch to the next slide. So the other important element of any map is the target customer. It's switched off. Oh yeah, now it's better. Let's get him back. Sorry, guys.
Just 1 second. Sorry about that.
No, no problem. It's okay. I mean,
Just
it's...
gonna- 3, 2, 1. Come on, do your thing.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Thank you. Okay, so on the top of every map, you will have a customer or anyone who is like important in the context of that map. And then that customer should have some benefit that they're getting from us, from the organization, from our product, whatever. And then this benefit will be implemented, realized by some sort of other, like a team, a system, a resource, and we can map all of that together, right? Are you still with me? Okay, cool. The other set of components, or like drawing elements that exist on the map is basically, well, component usually is denoted with, well, any symbol actually, doesn't really matter, but usually I'm using a circle. And then the obviously connection between components, again, just a line, nothing complex. Then maybe this is important because we want to indicate what is the potential movement of the component that may happen in the context of the drawing. And this is also important, that if there is an inertia or resistance to perform this move, then we denote it as an obstacle, right? So now let's think about platforms again. So who is the main customer of the platform? Usually it's the developer, right? That they are using our platform to deliver applications. In my experience, in most of the organizations, the platform that is used to deliver, virtual machines, applications, CI/CD pipelines, whatever, will be consisting of the elements that are sort of on at least every of this level, right? So it will be something custom built. There will be something that you buy from someone or rent from someone, and of course there will be something that is total commodity, like cloud, for example, or function as a service, whatever. I mean, the other thing that is kind of important here is that we want, as an organization, most likely, and that's at least what I see quite often, we want to move from custom-built solutions towards industrialized solutions. That's a common tendency. And what I see in discussions with developers and sysadmins and DevOps people is sometimes they focus too much on the tooling and they forget about the fact that our goal is to actually make our platform as cheap as possible, but at the same time give as much value as possible. So this movement is super important. And just that is already enough, to have some good discussions about things. Of course, we can kind of unite things together and say this is our platform, and then from that we can start drawing stuff even more, right? So we can say that okay, we have some infrastructure as code, it's custom built, we have Kubernetes cluster that we actually get from Amazon, and we have some other things that are basically just industrialized things. And from there we can, just drawing that. It's not an architecture, but it's the dependency tree for our developers that will allow us to kind of go and understand, should we actually invest so much time in here? Because actually it takes time, it takes effort, it takes skill. Maybe we should go directly here, and why can't we go there? Why can't we just be here or even here? And then have the discussion. So the main purpose of the map is to have discussions, because we can draw maps differently. Like imagine like a real map, geographical maps. You can have a map which is a political map, or a map which is a map of mountains, or a map of rivers, a map of train lines. Different perspective, different context, and different discussions around that. So this is just an invitation for a discussion. We can go further, right? We can draw more components, and then we can also start looking at what kind of impediments we have. And let's say we have a wish to move from some custom GitOps solutions into, let's say, Argo CD. But there is an impediment, right? What is that impediment? Lack of education, lack of skills, just resistance from loving our product, which was built here. By just putting that here, we can kind of start discussions about that and maybe find a solution. But the most important thing here that is we not only drawing what we have, we're also drawing where we are going and having discussions around that. Okay, I have 3 minutes left. Cool. I have some more maps, but we can maybe discuss them after the break or something. Yeah, maybe final thought here that this map is quite generic, right? It actually doesn't give enough thought. It's not giving enough thought about who we're building for, because here we're just developer and platform, no logical connection whatsoever. Potentially, what we actually are solving is the problem of the customer, and the problem of the customer is, in this case, developer, sole service environment creation. If it's the thing that they need, then it's a different map, right? And it could lead to some sort of different discussions. So yeah, and we can continue going from there to more discussions and stuff like that. Okay. Well, I hope it was interesting. But basically, the conclusion here would be that you have to draw maps. Just try it. It's interesting. I mean, I'm still in my early learning stages of that. I'm trying to apply that. I'm trying to show that to people in my companies. And yeah, it seems to work, but slowly. Also draw many maps from different perspectives, discuss them, because map itself is actually quite useless. But the discussion that happens around that map is actually the most important thing, right? Because it actually allows you to create strategical moves and stuff like that. Also, the other aspect of any map is that it's actually raising situational awareness, right? So, for example, if you are a team working on a small aspect of your platform, let's say virtual machines, you may not know what's happening in another part of the organization, and you may not know how you're affecting them. By putting that on the map, can bring it up and have a discussion about that. And yeah, repeat the process. Okay, the book is there. I will actually share the slides somewhere in the social networks. Thank you very much, and yeah.
Before we take questions, I just wanted to say that Andrey actually came all the way from Riga for this talk, so I think that deserves a second round of applause.
Technically, I came from Derby because I was flying to Riga.
Well, it's a bit more exciting.
Yeah.
So, questions? Any questions about Wardley Maps?
No.
What do you use to draw the maps?
Oh, okay.
Figma. Yeah.
And you have the Genesis section? We didn't see any examples of that.
Well, if you're building something that is completely new, like I would say the world of AI, that would be Genesis. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. One question over there?
So, there's the website like team topologies and stuff.
Yeah.
Have maps.
Yeah.
Do you publish something similar? Because obviously there's the generic thing, but there's going to be patterns in the industry for various specialist topics.
Well,
do you have something similar?
Well, I have some blog posts. Actually, my newsletter is there. So some of the things that I'm discussing here are also published on the blog post. But yeah, I plan to do more. So maybe.
Do you like in-house consultancy? Like how does that work?
Well, yeah. I'm doing consulting. I'm helping companies with automation. But yeah, it's some.
I might have to ping you on LinkedIn then.
Well, another question here?
Actually, I'll pause because I think the gentleman already answered my question the previous one.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? All right. You can always get Andrey after the talks. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Last talk today. Please stay with me. Okay? Now.